Welcome everyone to what is actually already the fifth in our now regular series of online events that we are doing with AI Raise. This series focuses on LP allocation matters when investing in private and alternative strategies. We are recording this on Monday, April the 28th. And we would have also have done it live if it hadn't been for the fact that we suddenly realized that our guests today were flying from Madrid to Hong Kong. And when I woke up on Saturday morning, I thought, my God, the time we had this advertised to be live is midnight in Hong Kong, which I thought was over and beyond the call of duty. So we are
thanks so much,
this...
Simon. We would have made it, but thank
yes,
you.
I know. Well, it's very kind of you to offer that. I thought that was over and beyond the call of duty, but thank you very much for offering that. So we have decided to do this both as a video recording and as a audio podcast. And indeed, I'm going to hit the record on a very old-fashioned tape recorder here, because we may even use this in an article as well. So it's going to be distributed far and wide in the weeks and months, and indeed perhaps even years or decades ahead, with the wise words that we're going to be talking about in a second. And today we are focusing upon family office investing. And I'm absolutely delighted that we have with us Dr. Daniel Brueggemann, who runs a family office and is also a venture capitalist. And we also have Daniel Weber, who's the founder of VIT and a former elite athlete. And as usual with these sessions, we have Lavin Chandra, who is the CEO of AI Raise. Welcome to you all. We're delighted you can do this. And I'm going to kick this thing off by asking the two Daniels, if you don't mind, to briefly introduce yourselves. And please give us a bit of in terms of what you've been doing. And also, if you could perhaps touch upon what asset classes you are investing in today. So over to you and welcome again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Simon. I think you've said it all. We're both called Daniel, so I think there's no further introduction. Just joking. What should I say? I clearly overallocate in venture capital. That is basically the only thing I maybe know a little bit about, if I may say so. So everything that I do myself mostly is venture capital. I'm a physician by training, but I don't work clinically anymore for many years. I started investing in medical technology. I started with my own startup, and then I took it from there. And yeah, I think that is just really briefly. So I'm in love with health care, and this is where my heart is because of my background. But I started investing in AI many years ago, and now I've gone into other verticals. At the end of the day, most of my investments have some sort of healthcare angle. Yeah, Daniel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello to everybody. I started myself doing business with economy. After that, I went over to become a former policeman in Germany. But after 18 years, I decided I'll have to make a big change because of my health, because of my values, and started over to run my own health company. And from the 1st of February, I'm at the side of Dr. Daniel Brueggemann, and there as the Chief Human Intelligence Officer.
He keeps insisting on the doctor. I've told him that I'm just Daniel, so it's really...
Oh, I forgot about it.
We're just Daniel, you know. Anyway, you know, in Germany, the medical doctor is seen as less off than the others. So, you know, I deal with proper engineering PhDs. Okay, there's a huge difference.
Anyway, you start as a medical doctor, looking at treating patients, Daniel.
Yeah, I did work for the NHS in
UK. In the UK.
Yes,
wow.
in Nottingham, where Robin Hood is from, and I kind of learned some of that maybe also informs a little bit of my philanthropy. I actually think that I have a responsibility to kind of, you know, reallocate that capital. But anyway, yeah. So I'm a former NHS doctor, and I still feel part of the NHS family every time that I go to see a doctor or in the UK.
That's fascinating. And you may be the first time. This may be. I've seen enough GPs in the NHS over the years, but it's the first time in this professional capacity I think I've ever interviewed somebody who is also an investor as well as an NHS GP, which brings me to the probably the first real
That's, I mean,
question.
if I may just briefly, so I didn't work as a GP, but as a psychiatrist. And actually, I
Oh,
believe that
okay.
there is the angle to investing and to the startup ecosystem. I think that
Oh,
at
okay.
the end of the day, we invest in people, and there is a lot of team dynamics and culture and when startups grow. So yeah, so I worked actually in psychiatry as a senior house officer.
Well, everything I
Okay.
just said still applies. That
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Here's my first question. How do you see the institution of family office investing evolving over the next 5 years?
All right. Well, I mean, I think that I can't talk for all family offices. I can certainly talk about what are my plans, but I think that in general there is a shift maybe from wealth preservation in general to growth. So many of the next generations of family wealth want to invest much more actively and also invest more directly. I think that this is one thing. But I think, and also with Lavin in the room with AI race, clearly digitization and AI will change actually nearly everything. I think that there is going to be a lot of disintermediation and also just simply the way that we gather information, right? I mean, using simple tools as ChatGPT or Perplexity already is a complete different way to do research about companies. There's a lot of more data-driven decision making. And it's just becoming, information is becoming much more democratized. Yeah. So I think that those are general trends that I see.
That's
Maybe also.
interesting.
Mhm.
That's very interesting, Daniel, because we started a few years ago and we focused immediately on family offices because we saw that this was a market which was underserved. Not enough family offices at the number of employees like at the big LPs, the pension fund, even the pension funds don't have that many employees. So the family office even less. Some of them are just like a two-man shop. If it is a big family office, I saw a 20 people employee shop in comparison to some other large institutions. Don't you think that because the large institutions have so many employees that the family offices might not exist in the future?
I mean, the question is already when we say family office, what does it mean, right? I mean, basically, if I may say so, I mean, any business angel can call himself a family office, or it really depends. I mean, if we think in the traditional term of single family office, it used to be really a sizable pool of capital, maybe after some sort of liquidity event that really required significant cost to run with a team. So nowadays, there is kind of the term, business angel, super business angel, family office is kind of all merging. But yeah, I actually think that more and more individual investors will be able to invest directly because they will be AI empowered. So maybe you could say that everybody will be like a family office, or that there will be no family office. But I think that in general, more and more people will be empowered to invest their own money. So yeah, it depends, or
Okay,
they will
then
actually everybody will be a family office and invest directly.
let me dig deeper into my question. So the traditional family offices I've seen here in London, for example, or Switzerland, are the ones who hire someone out of the finance industry, who have worked for Goldman Sachs, who have worked for BlackRock, who have seen the industry, who have a knowledge about the private investment market. Now, one of your colleagues, Daniel Weber, who's sitting next to you, is not from the finance world, but he has a lot of knowledge about probably humans, about tech team. So why didn't you team up with someone who have done a CFA or a Kaya? And why have you teamed up with someone who has a complete different view towards investment and people?
Yeah, sure. So I would clearly say that I don't run the most traditional family office. I think we're pretty idiosyncratic. And if you look a little bit about the little bit of content that we've been sending out to the universe, we are a little bit different in that regard. Having said that, Daniel has a business background also. So I mean, obviously, it's not that is very valuable. I in general, I just yeah. So I just feel that my out of the box thinking and actually the way that I look at the world, because I don't come from finance, because I don't have a business degree, is actually what somehow gives me the edge. And, you know, with Daniel together, it just works. So we just run things a little bit different. And a lot of the information I can gather myself, or I have a lot of outsourced partners. I like to run my ship very lean and to be very flexible who I work with. And I like to get experts in all of the different niches, right? I always assume that I know nothing, and that if an important decision has to be taken, you know, I have quite a Rolodex, as they used to say, that I call it. Yeah, I don't necessarily like the traditional structures.
So how important is the team for you when you're making an investment decision, be it a startup, be it an asset manager, i.e. a GP? How important are the individual people who are running that institution?
It is for me the most important thing. I mean, if we talk about you know, alternatives and venture capital, startup investing, it's the only thing that matters. So, and also the dynamics between of the teams, in the sense that you really have beautiful plans and then everything, right? You have to pivot, you have to change, you have to stay very flexible. So those things matter more than any kind of big plan that you have, right? You go to market and then everything changes. So the people, the psychology of everybody, but of course the experience matters, right? But it is the people that you invest in and not the plan. And the same with service providers. So it just has to click. I just have to believe that somehow our values match, and that I want to work with this person. And nowadays I can access knowledge from all over the world. So yeah, for us, and especially now in this setup with Daniel Weber, it's all about people.
Okay, Daniel Weber, quick question to you. So you have a little bit of a police background, and I met some police people. They're always aware of what's going on all over their place. So when you are helping Daniel Brüggemann with a decision about, let's say, a partner of a asset management fund, what are the things you are looking at? What they say, what they don't say, how they look, where their eyes are. Are these the important aspects?
The most important aspect for me personally is to listen. I do not introduce myself too much in the conversation. I'm listening, I'm watching, I read between the lines, I get information from, for example, of the background. Is the family important? How this person interacts to his employees, all that stuff. And we know each other very well. So in a conversation or a business appointment, it's not that I have to talk to Daniel. It's just like, yeah, look at each other and knowing what is important. And we take the information with us. We discuss it in front, what we have. We discuss it afterwards, what we have. And we play it back to the people we meet. It's honest, it's authentic. And for me personally, I can say I'm 50 plus right now, and it's coming from my intuition, and not did everything before like with pressure.
Lavin, we might not be the most typical example that you're searching for, but the reality is the way that we approach things is really, really personal. We go very personal right away. I used to do that already, but now Daniel Weber, he goes right away talking about hobbies, family, children, you know, all of these things. And somehow it gives you a different color to the relationship. Obviously, we do our DD before we even talk to a service provider, right? And also you can have reference calls before, but when we really are considering someone, we talk really personal stuff. Actually, we care about those things.
Believe it or not, I actually saw a lot of family offices who act very similar to you. So when you say you're not very typical, I would say
not that weird, Daniel. Lavin has confirmed it.
no. It's what I've seen a lot of times is.
Sorry,
Daniel, please go ahead.
May I have it written down on a sheet of paper as an evidence for the future?
Right.
I think it's recorded, right, Simon?
Yeah, it's here forever. Yeah. We'll have this up for another 10 years yet.
What I've seen a lot of times is that the owners of the family offices have very often the final say. And if they just like the asset manager or the portfolio company,
Correct.
on a personal level, they do make the investment. They do place those tickets.
Absolutely. Lavin, it's
Yeah,
also our situation, right?
correct.
Obviously, you're absolutely capable. You came really well recommended. But actually, you know, it was just the first talk, and I somehow immediately we connected, and I just kind of the energy was right, right? And then suddenly rational thinking is not that important anymore, right? Is I want to work with this person. I believe that this person, you know, has what it takes to build something. The details that he's talking are important, but I mean, everything is in flux anyway and will change. So I agree that family offices might not have the same criteria, particularly, especially here in Asia. I mean, anyway, it's really difficult to talk about family offices as one big bucket, right?
Yeah.
Every family office is
Can I ask, when you guys are in a meeting together and you may be meeting someone for the first time, and you're going through what you've just been describing, how often, if at all, do you ever come to different conclusions about how that meeting has gone? Does that happen very often, if at all?
May I?
Yeah, of course.
I would say no, because we take our time, and a process needs time. Out of my point of view, many others would be in the situation, hey, we want to have a solution or a meaning about something very early, but that keeps the view on the big picture, out of my point of view, too short. You misunderstand things, you do not see things, we reflect the blind spots, what the one sees and what the other sees. And so we take our time, and good knowing each other, and to live the style trust against trust in business and in private communication might be the difference.
But clearly patient capital. And if we invest in someone like Lavin, we want to continue having a relationship with him forever, right? I mean, this is one project, and in the future, we might be co-investing as two family offices when Lavin has had an amazing exit, Lavin. So we really want to build long-term relationship, right? The CAC LTV ratio matters to us also in this regard, right? How we source our deals and our partners. And yeah, that's why we take a little bit of time. Yeah, so we try to make decisions really quickly. And Lavin, with you, we did, but because it just worked, right? But
Yeah.
we do thorough due diligence in that sense, because we want to build upon this relationship. Maybe particularly, I mean, we love multipreneurs, right? I mean, you know, if I've seen you already working, even if it did not work out, you know, as we planned initially, the next project, you know, I want to invest again in you.
Absolutely.
This is probably not necessarily all that relevant to you just for the reasons you've just been describing your decision-making process, but I'd be interested in knowing whether you have any comments on whether the differences that there are between decision-making in a single and a multi-family office setup. And do you see the family office space, if that's the right way of putting it, evolving in one direction or another?
I'm seeing more and more hybrid models. So basically like ours, right? I mean, we're a single family office, but we don't have a large team. So we do work a lot with service providers. So obviously a multi-family office can cater to smaller pools of capital, right? There are economies of scale. But now more and more and more, at least from the people I engage with, I'm seeing more and more people that are even solopreneur family offices, if I may say so, right? I mean, even without any, you know, although they have a sizable pool of capital and say, okay, I co-invest with other people, we share due diligence, and I have a lot of service providers. So maybe from my perspective, if there is a trend between single family and multi-family offices, that there is some sort of hybridization.
Daniel, what I've seen in the market was a lot of the entrepreneurs who made an exit, had a lot of capital to deploy, decided to deploy the capital by themselves. And then they realize, okay, I need more help. And they start to hire more and more people. And then eventually their friend of that entrepreneur, of the patriarch of that family office, came to him and said, hey, you made an amazing exit here. You made a good investment there. You made a 10x, you made a 20x. I don't have the time myself. Can I not give you some of my money? And you start to take that and start to deploy that. This is the typical evolution I've within from a single family office to a multi-family office. How do you see that evolving over the next 5 years?
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of co-investing. Actually, a lot of family offices, even if they invest in a GP, they will negotiate co-investment rights, right? So, but you don't necessarily need to have locked-in capital, right? I mean, it can be quite flexible. You can set up SPVs, right? So, absolutely, there is a trend towards that now. Yeah. But not everybody wants the responsibility of managing other people's capital. And I mean, it comes with a lot of additional layers of complexity. So yeah, beware who wants to go from single family to multifamily.
That's interesting. How do you see now the difference in, let's say, Europe, US, and in Asia? You're currently in Hong Kong. It's an evolving market. More and more families are able to generate wealth and start to set up their own family office out of Hong Kong, out of Singapore. Singapore is a huge family office hub. Do you see any differences there?
Any differences you mean between Asian families and maybe Western families?
Correct.
Yeah, it really, there's a lot of factors. It's really difficult to put everything into one mold, but it really depends, I guess, a lot on the origin of the capital, and whether it is, money that was earned in this generation, and maybe there's 2 generations working, the entrepreneur that made the capital, and then maybe the next generation, or if it is really multi-generational, 5th, 6th generation, maybe started with real estate and industrial processes, right? I think it's a little bit difficult to generalize in general, but I do think that clearly governance is different in family offices in Asia. Maybe, a lot of the breadth of wealth, I mean, the amount of wealth that is there is pretty new compared to maybe Western markets. So a lot of family offices started investing through the CFO of their corporation. And so maybe now it's just becoming much more professional and there's much more experience in the market. There are much more service providers. Maybe that is a little bit of a difference, but besides of that, Asian families nowadays are so global. And the next generation study abroad.
If everyone's happy, can I jump onto areas in the market you guys are looking to invest in? I know in particular it's technology and real estate and what your views are on that, but also throw in, please, if you'd like to, other areas, what interests you category-wise in terms of allocations. I totally take your point earlier about it depends on who you meet and whether you like that individual or group of individuals. But do you have any views on various sectors as well? And in which ones are you particularly interested right now?
Yeah, for me, you just mentioned real estate, right? I mean, traditionally, obviously, if you think about wealth preservation, real estate, offers, stability and inflation protection and everything. But I really have fallen in love with tech. I think the scalability of it and also really the social impact just tickles my fancy compared to real estate. In general, I mean, what should I say? For me right now, everything is AI. I mean, I think we're all, thinking a lot about it and how it will change everything. But clearly, healthcare and education are what matters the most to me. And to me, education is actually healthcare, right? I mean, we should preventative healthcare. If we educate our young, but also us adults, in how to preserve your health. And I think that Daniel also can speak to that. These are the things that I'm most interested in. And I believe that whether it succeeds or not, if it succeeds, that I can have much a broader social impact than if I invest in other niches. So yeah, that's what I can say about that.
Are we also speaking about, again, old money where our parents always said invest into real estate, more secure. Number one rule, my son, my daughter, is don't lose money. Yeah, and then you just place the money into real estate because you can't
Yeah.
really lose it unless you're
Sure.
going to a village where the demographic is negatively
Yeah.
changing.
I mean, traditionally, a family office is supposed to preserve wealth, right? And really, risks are taken in your entrepreneurial pursuits, right? But not with the pool of capital that is, to be kept in the family, right? But that's not the way I think. So I clearly want to use the time I have here to somehow, reallocate capital, right? And try to have an impact with it. And I hope my son is not listening. But I'm not planning to hand it over to him. So he has to figure out I'm providing the very best possible education, and I will encourage him to do anything that he wants to do. But I don't think in the terms of preservation as such, right? Maybe if you force me, I will think about stewardship and obviously but it doesn't have to be in the hands of the next generation of my family. Yeah.
I like what you just said. When we started within the real estate sector because that was
Mm.
our bread and butter. I did more than $7 billion in real estate transactions, and I
Ooh.
started to help the real estate asset managers to raise capital. But
Mm.
then I discovered, or the VCs discovered us, and one of the first VCs we raised capital for was the Austrian health tech VC fund. And we did everything completely digital, and that basically started to fascinate me, and I went more and more into technology. But I wouldn't write off real estate. I love real estate, but at the same time, I also love technology.
I'm
Yeah,
not saying I'm writing it off, and actually I do invest in real estate, but it's not what keeps me awake at night. It's not what makes me read up obsessively about market dynamics. So, but that's just me. So I think, please,
I think real estate
learn
is
from
so
you. Maybe you
important.
can still. Oh, I'm not saying it's not important. You're just asking me. I'm clearly over allocated in alternatives, and yeah.
To make sure, one second, to make sure that the real estate industry is not losing the edge. What I did is in 2018, I wrote a book about prop tech, and now I just wrote a book about AI in real estate, which is being published soon by Palgrave and Macmillan.
Everybody
Which
buy that and do invest in real estate.
yeah. But we need to optimize it. We need to optimize. And I think when we are utilizing more technology within real estate, then it can become more attractive. Then the returns might go higher. What are the returns you would expect from a real estate and from a tech investment?
A million X with no risk, please. So
I think only Simon can deliver that, right?
well, you promised me, right? I mean, you said I'm going to give you, I don't know, 1,000X in a couple of months. Is that not what AI was about? So what was your question?
If you would go into the metrics, but what would you expect in terms of a real estate return, and in terms of return if you invest into a tech startup?
Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly, I mean, now that you say talking about real estate, prop tech is something that I'm very, very, very interested in. So if you want that angle, so yeah, I think real estate, I don't even think about returns in that regard. It's so uninteresting. It's really just about wealth preservation and maybe hedging and inflation, right? But yeah, so with it's a good question. Actually, I don't necessarily think when I invest, in what expectation I have about the returns. I invest rather early, so I expect that it's not going to work anyway. But I do invest in very risky assets, so I do have expectation that it will grow quite a lot, Lavin.
Can I
Nice.
ask a kind of a bit of a sort of waffly, crazy question towards the
Sure.
end to see what you come up
come
with in
on.
terms of the answer? It seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, and I could be, there's been just in the last, and you'll know this better, vastly better than me, Daniel. There's been an explosion in healthcare in investing in the, call it the last 10, 15 years. But in the first 15 to 30 years, 40 years of my life, there really wasn't, at least I wasn't aware of it, and I don't think there really was. It's already happened in the last decade or two. So part of my question is, Is that A, is that correct? And B, where are we in this in the bigger evolution of healthcare technology breakthroughs? I'd be really interested in your views on that, because it's probably an area you think about quite a lot. Secondly, related to that, is I spend a lot of time in the States. I partly live in the States, and I get into lots of heated discussions about health insurance and how the Americans do it with their 20th century blind pools of health insurance. You were talking about the fact, the NHS. I'm a massive believer in, we're at the stage now where probably when the baby is just a fetus, they'll be able to say what's going to happen to it in 50 or 60 years' time. And therefore, that 20th century model of insurance may be redundant. And given all the advances taking place in medical technology, would you say that's correct? And how would you finance the health support of the population at large? End of a very waffly question.
Well, it's not wobbly. I think that I would need a lot of time to really talk about it. But the word that still comes to mind to me is prevention, right? I think that in general, the whole healthcare ecosystem and the way that all of these different stakeholders are going to interact is going to change. With quantified self, and there is just a lot of different models. Insurance will obviously still exist, but I think that what matters most is to preserve your health, and that to see health as a holistic with an integrative model. I think that this is one of the biggest changes. So we actually don't have a healthcare system. The truth is that we have a disease care system, right? And that what people that deliver healthcare should be paid for is how healthy do they keep population. For example, Kaiser Permanente in the US is a really good system. You've got the whole ecosystem. The incentives have to be right? And in general, I think clearly healthcare and healthcare insurance is a human right, and everybody should have it. No doubt about it.
We haven't
really about healthcare too, but today maybe we need to talk one day about healthcare in general, which might not.
We should have you back and have a specific session on healthcare investing. I'd love to do that one day.
Wonderful. I would love that too.
Do we have time quickly? Do you think to ask the last question we had here prepared, Lavin, on either Daniel, any success stories you want to talk about before we wrap up?
I do. I want to talk about AI race, and Lavin Chandra is the success story I'm about. This is why I'm here today. And to me, this is the entrepreneur of the decade. So Lavin, talk about your success story.
We just opened up the office in San Francisco. We hired a number of incredible people. One of the guys studied at Stanford, is developing our AI. We have a new data lift. We have a new platform, and we are providing data about limited partners. Have more than 150 data points of each and every LP of 67,000 LPs, which accumulates more than or roughly 10 million data points. And for us, the most important, or for me personally, the most important aspect is that we are solving the housing crisis, which exists in every major city in the world. So the new generation is able to find a property where they can live in, buy a property where they want to live for a long time. Then the climate change is important as well. We need to support those asset managers who are investing into renewable energies with the capital from you as a family office, from pension funds who want to invest. We are already doing this in the UK, in the States. Then also the VC industry. Apart from Silicon Valley, I would say in every cluster in the world, there is also a problem of raising the capital for those VCs who are then investing back into the startups, who are then generating new jobs. And this is crucial. This is the bigger incentive for me to make the world a better place.
Well, wonderful. Very well said, this advertorial. Very clearly, I mean, besides of the financial returns, really engaging with people like Lavin is really, what makes our life meaningful, right? I mean, the energy that someone like Lavin brings in, the braggadociousness of it all, right? To say, okay, we can make things differently, and I dare to do things differently, and then see that it works, right? I mean, that revenue keep increasing, that all the metrics. I mean, come on, how can you invest in other asset classes? So obviously, I mean, you have to hedge and you have to do it rightly, but I mean, that is a clear value add. So that is a win no matter what, to just watch people also develop and see their dreams come true. And obviously, you know.
Yeah, I play back to you, Simon. You asked how we take our decisions. I stepped at the side of Daniel, not Doctor, after he already had made the deal to Lavin and AI race. And in Psyche, you say you only need 1 to 3 minutes to know who's in opposite of you. And okay, we're sitting right now, but the stand of Lavin, the voice of Lavin, the spirit in his words were that strong and focused and clear that I afterwards said to Daniel, okay, you made it. Because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points, whatever. And the thing which make us like a USP point, I straight away recommended it to Lavin, to let him know, not to go first back. Don't let him know straight away in a direct conversation. And this makes also a difference.
Okay, Lavin, no pressure there. This is going to go public. You need to succeed now, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, there's no option. I never had any other option. We have to succeed.
Right.
It's
Burn your bridge.
Well,
it's
Make
where
it
we are.
when Lavin is flying around the world in his private jet, this recording will still be on our website.
Well,
Yeah,
first of all, I'm not flying in a private jet. I'm a very humble person. I'm taking economy class, and that's it.
you
When
should.
Lavin's flying around the world in economy class and he owns the airline,
Oh my
this
God.
video will still be on our website.
All right, so we've touched a lot of sensible topics here, guys. Anyway, well, thank you so
I should let you go because it's getting late where you are, and I advise you to stay out of all those dodgy bars we were talking about earlier in Wan Chai. Stay on Kowloon side; it's probably much safer.
We took some.
And have a wonderful evening. Thank you both so much. Really
Wonderful.
enjoyed it. And as I said, and I really mean it, I hope we can get you back before too long to do maybe some of the discussions in biotech and healthcare and other areas that we've just touched upon today. So thank
I
you both
very much
very
hope that
much
you have real experts to talk about those things, but I'm really glad to share my ideas about it. Thank you so much.
When are you next in? And I hope we get a chance to meet in person when you're in the UK sometime.
Absolutely. Let's do that. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, have a
Thank you,
great
guys.
evening, or
You
rest
guys.
of it, the rest of the evening, whatever you've got left of it, and see you, I hope, before very long. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.